Hello, everyone, and welcome to Connect to Create. Today is Thursday, March 9th, 2023, and I'm excited to share with you a technique called faux wood burning. And maybe when you were younger, you may have done some wood burning. I remember using a magnifying glass with a piece of scrap wood and burning my name into it or some picture or other. So today I'm going to show you how to replicate that in your stamping and card making. Now, if you're new to Connect to Create, it is a collaboration between myself and another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and friend, Pat Fairless from Fairless Stamp and Flair. And each week we take turns bringing you a new technique that you can use in your card making and paper crafting. So I am excited to get started. So I'm going to switch his camera down and I'm going to show you how to do faux wood burning. So you should be able to see my desktop right now, and I am going to show you, stay with me through to the end. I'm going to show you 3 cards. I'm excited about this technique because I think it's a great one to use for masculine cards, but it's also one that you can use for other stamps. So I am going to demonstrate to you using it with 2 different stamp sets. And the first one I am going to show you is how to use it with Celebrate Sunflowers. And again, you can use this with just about any stamp set that you want that wood burned look. And we're going to use this big stamp right here. To do this, I am going to bring in my Stamparatus because I typically stamp my image at least 2 or 3 times because I want a nice dark image. Now, to do this technique, you need very little. You need the stamp set, you need a water painter, you need a dark stamp pad. I tend to use browns because that replicates that wood burned look. So I'm using Early Espresso today. And you need watercolor paper. So I have a piece of 3 3/4 by 5 inches of the Stampin' Up! Watercolor 100 paper. And I'm going to set it right here in my Stamparatus. I've already lined up my stamps for this. That's for it to be in the corner. And we're going to go ahead with this. Now, you can use your water painter with the water in it. I tend to bring in a little bit of water in a palette, and I go ahead and use that for my painter. So I am going to go ahead and ink this up, and I'm going to move this up so that you can see exactly what I'm doing and over a little bit. And I've just re-inked this with the Early Espresso ink. So it should be pretty juicy. So in order to do this, I am going to set something under my plate here because that gives me some support for inking. And we're going to go ahead and ink this up really well. And I'm not going to worry if I don't get good coverage right first because I can go back over it. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a good press. And I use a little tool that helps me just because I don't have the strength I used to in my hand. And you can see where I've missed some spots. So I'm going to go ahead and re-ink, and I find that I end up re-inking and stamping 2 to 3 times because you're going to end up pulling the color, and you want really good color with this. Now I don't want to get this, so I'm going to make sure I wipe the edges. And we're going to re-stamp. Now, okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to take off my greeting because I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe that off so I don't smear it anywhere. And I do keep a microfiber cloth around because that helps me. And I'm going to re-ink just the sunflower. and get it one more layer of color. I want a nice deep, rich color. Okay, and that looks good. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to take this plate off because we're going to be using another stamp set with the other plate. And we're going to move this off to the side. Okay, so the next step to doing this is I'm going to keep my microfiber cloth right next to me here. You can use a paper towel. I also use I have a piece of copy paper here. And you can use whichever brush. I have pulled out a big one, but I'm actually going to use my medium size one. And I'm just going to wet it. Make sure it's clean, that you don't have any other colors on it. And then I'm just going to start pulling my color across so that it looks like it's wood burned. I'm going to re-wet, and then I'm going to go to my flower and do the same. And what it does is it's pulling that color, and I'm not looking to color the flower. You're going to see that I have some blank or white spots in my image, and that's fine because the goal isn't to color the flower, but to get that wood burned look around the edges of the image. And you can go back over. And I'm just going to pull in the direction. I'm going in the direction I want that faux wood burned look to be. So I'm going to add a little more color. I think this just gives you almost like an antique-y look. I love the way, and you could use other floral stamp sets with this. And I'm excited to show you what I did with these images with the cards. Just going to keep pulling it through. And let's pull a little bit more down in here. And I'm happy with that. So let's go ahead and let me bring this up for you to see. So here's that faux wood. Now you may notice a little bit of red or pink in the color. And remember, we're using browns, which have red in them. So that's just all part of the look. Isn't that pretty? So let me show you another one. And with this one, I am going to use a completely different stamp set. I'm using Vintage Tools. This is one that's also in the 2022-2023 annual catalog. So it's around until May, at least. We don't know if it's retiring or not, but I thought this is a great one for a masculine card. So let's go ahead and do this one. So I'm going to bring my Stamparatus back in, and I've got another piece of watercolor paper. Let's go up here. It's 3 3/4 by 5, and this time I'm going to go in landscape mode. So I have my tools. Let's pop this in, arranged sporadically on the top of the watercolor paper. And let's just kind of move this up here where I know we have more room. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to ink this up, and we're going to use our stamp case to support that, and we're going to ink really well. And again, I'm probably, and I have a little bit here, just going to wipe it off. I'm going to re-ink this at least 2 times. And you can see I missed part of the stamp on the hammer. So let's re-ink that. Totally missed that. And I have my glasses on. So, right, again, I want to make sure I don't get any edges on. I don't know that it would be that big of a deal since I'm pulling the color through, but I don't want to take any chances. So I'm going to go ahead. And I'm going to re-ink one more time, particularly the hammer and the tools. Not so much worried about the nails. Whoops. And let's go back over. And we're good. So let's take this out and we're ready to get started. All right. So here's our images. They're the tools. And I'm going to bring my water back in and my painter back in. And with these images, I'm going to do each image individually, or at least each. I'm going to pull up with this one. And now just do and you can see my goal isn't to color the whole paper, but to just get that wood burned look around the edge of my image. And it doesn't take any skill. You do want to watch how much water you get. You want to get enough that you can pull it nice, pull that color through nicely. And then I'm going to show you how we use them to make a card. I'm going to get a little bit more in here, and now we're going to go to here. I think this is a planer. I have this stamp set because my husband does a lot of woodworking and making of furniture, and it's a great stamp set for masculine cards, especially if you have someone who's pretty handy. I'm going to pull this through a little bit more. You can pull it through as little or as much as you want, but I want that little bit more of a wood burned look. Okay, so I like that. I want to get a little bit more here. Just pull it out a little more. And that looks good. So let's move this out of the way and let me bring it up so you can see it. So there's our faux wood burned look. Now let me show you the cards in which I used these images. So the first card is the sunflower card. And you can see I did this one portrait. This one I did landscape. And did it on all the cards. I've used the designer series paper for the colors. And this one is so saffron. So here's our card. Let's leave that here. Now let me bring in another one for you. This is from a retired stamp set. It was retired last year. It was Home and Garden. And did the images, again, the same way. Used early espresso. This is with soft suede or crumb cake, I'm sorry, and early espresso, and made it into a Happy Father's Day card. to the man who can do anything. And you can see you have some red tones in there, which is part of the browns. And then our last card is the one that we just did, where we used vintage tools. And this one is done in early espresso. And my base is, I forget what I used. So 3 cards, but isn't that a great technique for masculine cards? So 3 cards with different ideas. See what you have on hand. Give this a try. It's certainly easy to do. So I hope you enjoyed today's technique. Let me bring you back to me. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. Help us grow our channels. Feel free to share these videos. Both of these videos can be found on my YouTube channel, Simply Cards by Kathy, or Pat's Fearless Stamp and Flair. And there's a playlist for Connect to Create. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Pat will be back with you next week for some more fun with techniques. And you have a great week, and we'll see you soon.